Hello. New music has come out today. It's a Friday. This often happens. Although, I know for this one, because I follow them on Bandcamp, that there was actually a listening party for this on Wednesday. So if you missed it, no worries. We're going to have a listen. What could it be though? What could it be? Well, it's not going to be a big release if it's on Bandcamp. Well, let me reveal to you the wonders we have in store today. Hanakiv is a cool artist with no information on Qobuz. That's okay. I don't have any information on Qobuz either. But I found out about Hanakiv from her previous album, Goodbyes, which is really cool. It's a really cool album. Basically, it's a pianist. Hanakiv is an Estonian-born composer who lives in London. Hey, and and she composes these interesting, modern, let's say classical piano pieces with broader instrumentation around them as well. As well as that, it's not just pure piano. There's a fair amount of preparation goes into the piano on these records. That can be as simple as just lying, a felt mat on top of the keys. So instead of this bright sound, they might have a bit more of a deadened sound. Okay, so it might be as much as that, or it might be replacing some of the strings with bells or other clattery percussive instruments. So you have this kind of end of the piano where you can just hit, instead of these horrible high keys, maybe hitting doing, boing, bang, 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 these kinds of things instead. That's basically the concept here. We're dealing with piano prepared to some degree. Shush yourself. Piano prepared in some kind of way, plus other instruments. Now, on the first album, I would say relatively relatively not pedestrian just came to my head. That's definitely not the case. It's a really fun album, really worth a listen, but the extended instrumentation was relatively limited. There was at least one, if not two, appearances by Alabaster de Plume, who I believe is a saxophonist. On this album we have a wider gamut of sounds. There she is, preparing that piano. What's she putting in? Some kind of bows maybe, or something like that over the mallets, it looks like. Not entirely sure, but anyway, very demonstrative album cover there. Also amusingly called Interlude, and there is no interlude on the album, so presumably this is just a quick thing before the next release, I assume. I have prepared for you one particular song here, Lõpulaul. I even looked up how to pronounce this insane, I know it as an enye, but I think it's a tilde, and it's over this O, and apparently it's just a Lõpulaul, presumably an Estonian word. If not, I may well have got the pronunciation entirely wrong. We're going to have a listen to this. This is a fun piece. There are other fun pieces on the album. I would say this one sort of gives the widest impression of the textures that are going on the album. While this doesn't have everything, there are, for instance, songs other than this which have a choral ensemble on them, which this does not have. There's some talking on some other songs. There's various other things. This has a good amount of the extras. So let's just have a listen. Oh, and in between talking and thing, we disconnected. Let's try that again. Okay, so you can hear there, we've got some of the general resonances of a piano. In this kind of mid-range, this kind of range, it sounds very much like a piano. But in the lower range, there's much more impediment to those notes. It's not just hitting those notes. There's a kind of clunk, 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 clunk. Something getting in the way, making that sound a little more textured, a little more exciting. Let's hear it one more time. Yeah, especially I think on the D, maybe a little bit on the, actually, where's that? Maybe on that C as well. So there are a few notes where it especially is impedimented, and then we go from this long sustained piano note to just this kind of thing, clunking sound. So we're in sort of familiar texture territory, but with a twist, with something exciting there. There's also that do 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 or do 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 going through in the background, isn't there? One piano mainly centered, quite dry, and then one filling a much larger acoustic in the background. Harmony wise, we're already playing with a little bit of curiosity. We've got kind of a straightforward pattern, which is based around sort of A minor tonality, but the hands don't often match. We have sort of a little bit of a straightforward bass movement, but the hand in the middle, it does some things that are comfortable, and some things that make slightly unusual relationships between the hands. Like for instance there, we've got the C in one hand, and that's great with the A in the bass, but then we drop to the D in the bass. And then we have this kind of open seventh with not much else going on it. Alright, so it's still very much within an A minor tonality. It's just a little bit of an unusual feel, and especially that it's the long one. The first one, the comfortable one, A and C, just held for a brief moment, one and then on, and then we hold that one for much longer. Okay, coming in here you might hear another part of the texture. Semi-quaver hi-hat with a little bit of a heavy kick drum as well. Not what you might expect from a classical recording. Let's keep hearing. Yeah, maybe not entirely semiquavers. We're definitely getting tick, 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 tick. But that second one, tick, that one doesn't seem to be there very often. Maybe it's just very quiet. Also, the piano seems to have taken, or the piano that's in focal range, in that front focus, that is much quieter, or at least not really playing at the moment, while this other part fades in. Whereas the one in the background is still swirling around. Okay, so we're now at quite a different pace. We've been going very slowly between chords. Something like that, okay? So that's pretty slow moving. Then this tick, 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 tick comes in. So that's getting us a quite clear beat every single thing. Oh, I've just seen musical bingo is a little too high. Let's just shift that. So that's coming in. That's nice. What else is there to say? Yeah, no. Now we've got this this ostinato coming in the piano. Yeah, doing those. This is where my microphone is, so I can't play it very nicely. Going to be moving house. Hopefully we will be in a place where I can put the microphone behind rather than in front. We will see about that. But yeah, that's coming in, giving us some very clear threes. Very clear threes. Now, does that go with the beat, or does it go against the beat? Well, the that's not threes, is it? That's fours, or 1, 2, 3. You could think of it, but that 1 is twice as long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So are these cross rhythms? They are cross rhythms, but what's kind of interesting is that unlike our traditional pop music, where we would get those cross rhythms and they would do 4 and then it would interrupt. So what I mean is it would go, okay, and it would interrupt the pattern. We're not doing that here. We're allowing it to go all the time. Well, it changes that top note eventually, but it doesn't change the pattern. We don't suddenly restart like that, okay? And that's because the cross rhythm here is allowing for the crossover point to be more important. So instead of going 1, 1, or whatever, I don't know where we are. Are we there? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then having it either off when we change chord or repeating 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Instead, we are more focused on that particular 3 and 4, or well, and 4 relationship. I'll go and check the chords in a moment, but that's the basic thing that's going on there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that means that when we get to the next one, the 7th one, where we might have a change, we've already gone through a set of 6 in the same place, so it's comfortable. The 3s are intact in that way, and actually the 4s are intact because that's what we were counting those 3s from. Does that make sense? I have not maybe explained that as clearly as I could. Let's just have a listen to it and let's try and understand from that. Yeah, so the whole pattern then, we've got 6 of these at the beginning. Have we? Yes, we do. How does that work? That can't work. Oh no, it's 8 of those, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that makes sense, because we would have 8 of those because there's 3 of them, and we would have 6 of the others because there's 4 of them. Yeah? Does that make does that add up? 6 and 4 makes 24. 6 times 4 makes 24, right? No, it doesn't. Does it? Yes, it does. And 8 times 3, oh my goodness, does make 24. Great. Yeah, so they're making the same amount in the same space. After those, which I'm just going to play up the octave. In fact, I'm going to shift it down the octave on the piano. So we get those, and then we get a change to the pattern, 1. And we get 3 of those, 2 of those, and 1 of those. So maybe hang on, let's hear that again. Yeah, sorry, because 3s and 4s, right? So we get 8 of these, and then 4 of these, 2 of these, 2 of these, all over a differently moving bass part, which starts at the A. I think it's up an octave actually, so that's gone into the wrong area now, and then it goes down to the D, up to the E and the F. This is actually the same pattern we had in the beginning there. Okay, so that's our whole first bit. Yeah. something like that. Yeah, that I think is it. Let's hear that with a lower octave. So I think that's it. I might be a little late with that last bass movement. Let's have one more go. No, that's it. That's it. So it's 6 beats on the A, 3 beats on the D, 2 on the E, 1 on the F, and then we go back again. It's all happening in this quite compressed range though. It's basically, yeah, from this G up here to this D. Only 2 octaves. We're on a piano. We have a huge range, but it's all happening within that small range, which is, I think, a little bit interesting to keep it confined like that to begin with. Maybe it's going to expand, but also that allows that kick drum to really boom, open its own space at the bottom there. And it also, I guess, allows that hi-hat at the top as well. There's a bit of fun texturalness with the hi-hat as well, because sometimes it feels more open and sometimes it feels more closed. That's a consistent sort of change. It seems to open, I would say, closer to the end of the sequence. It gets a little more open, leading back into the beginning of the sequence. I think that's what you could say. Oh. That's interesting, because we got this, yeah, this change of, well, it sort of feels like a change of tonality, although actually it isn't, but it's just because we haven't had any Bs so far at all. We've had As, Ds, Es, Fs, and we've had G in the higher hand, and we've had C, a lot of C as well. But we haven't had any Bs, and then suddenly in this chord we get a big G major chord, so it really feels like quite a big change from that sort of A. Where are we really here? Maybe we feel more like F, I don't know, but then getting that G major, ooh, it brightens up the thing a lot, but also there's a different texture on it compared to the other parts of the piano. This is all quite soft, quite plinky plonky, right? With that, maybe with that felt over the keys or bows or whatever it might be, just making it softer than it would normally be. Maybe it's also played with a dampener on. I don't really know, but either way, we've got this soft sound of the keys, and then in this next part, oh yeah. Yeah, so it just clears for a moment there. I think we lose the lower hand for 3 of them, and then the G comes in there. Okay, so just that slight change, as well as losing the A that's constantly been in the background. Out of that emerges this much cleaner G major sound. Really nice change. Okay, now this is a change of tonality, because we were just complaining that we had no Bs. There was a B, and then we've lost that B, and we've got a B flat down here in the bass, while the other hand still doing the same kind of patterns. It's like low, high, higher is basically what this pattern is. Okay, but what we've got there is a B flat down here, a D here, oh sorry, knocking the microphone, and then a G and an A. So a little bit of a complicated chord. Let's move that microphone a little bit further away. But I would say that's basically like a B flat major 7. It does have a 6 there as well, but it's in passing. If you want to consider that more important, you could maybe see it as a G minor chord with an added 9th, which it's somewhere in between those. I'm not gonna begrudge you a name call, but yeah, we've definitely gone to a slightly darker place. If we were in A minor before, well, are we in a Phrygian mode with that B flat? I wouldn't say so. It doesn't really feel like that, maybe we're more geared around the D minor, because we were using the D minor a lot in the previous section. And then that G major felt like quite a big difference, maybe a D Dorian kind of feel. And then this feels like bringing us back to that D minor. Let's see if we go back to that D minor with any kind of heaviness. Well, not immediately. A really nice C major there. Another chord we haven't had before, but we've had sort of inklings of it before, but it feels quite different here. Yeah, but there is the D minor. Very clearly D minor. And we're still on that small range. D down here above middle C, and this high octave arpeggio. Lovely stuff. Yeah, and there, just an alteration of the pattern to give that B flat instead of the D at the top, and then a C. So yeah. That's the basic thing. I am not the pianist I need to be to emulate this kind of thing, but it's lovely, isn't it? Feels a little bit like City of Tears in Hollow Knight, which is one of my most favourite pieces of music. Yeah, it's got the same softness of piano touch with a lot of sort of emotional movement here. This change from that G major to more of the B flat tonality is really, really lovely. And yeah, we're continuing on. Now we've moved to that B flat over here. Are we going to repeat? Think about this. What is the structure here so far? We've had an intro where we sort of outlined the bass movement, and we maybe gave a little bit of melody, although we haven't really heard any of that melody occurring elsewhere in the piece yet. Then we came in with our rhythmic motif, and the drums came in as well. And we have sort of given that in an A minor to begin with, and now more in a D minor, with a transitionary, interesting G major chord, which doesn't really feel transitionary, but more like a deliberate antagonist to the later section. Regardless, are we going to go back to our A minor, or are we just going to go on a journey here? Let's see. Ah, well, that was nice. On that C chord, we got a little bit of a high movement with that top finger going through a few different stepwise moves there. And then when we got back to the D minor, we were moving down that one. We stopped for quite a while on that B. Okay, introducing the B again. More of that D Dorian feel, which immediately is cancelled by the B flat. More of an Aeolian or natural minor feel. Interesting stuff. Although that's less interesting than a lot of stuff, because that is a melodic cliche, if you like. Happens in a lot of things. Well, normally happens in the bass. Daydream, the fell asleep beneath the flowers for a couple of hours. What a beautiful day. Yeah, so it doesn't feel very original, but it is still a little bit of a funny little spicy bit. We've got that. Is it an A now? It is. So that A has come back in, disappearing for that G major chord, but now it's back in, and it's constantly against that B flat, isn't it? Ooh, giving us that lovely lush B flat major chord. B flat major 7 chord, more specifically. Okay. Something else just came in, didn't it? Let's hear that again. Lots of open hi-hat there, closing again. So soft. That sounds like a synth to me. And if we look at the credits, Hanakiv. Okay, doesn't say synth. But if we look at the booklet, which we can do incredibly thanks to Kobo's being the best, it says Hanakiv piano, vocals, synth, track 8, and this is track 8. Okay, so there's some synth on this, and that's what that is. A sudden new texture, really jumping out at us. Just for a moment though, and it's on the G of this ambiguous B-flat based chord. So giving us more of that G minor feel maybe. And then that G minor feel is intensified by the bass dropping to G minor, while the pattern changes as well. Let's hear that again. Yeah. Oh, also, let's just hear that again. I'm not sure when it happened, but we've gone from lowest at the beginning of the bar to highest at the top of the bar. Should we try? Well, why not? Let's try and work out when that happens. So that's low. Yeah, so the high note is a little later on the beats. Is it here? Is it when we go to the G? No. It's not even here. It's not even here. Ah, there it is. So it's when that top note starts being more elaborated, so not just keeping to one note for a while, but doing that kind of thing, moving around. That's when we switch. That kind of thing. That's when we switch. So it's so subtle though, isn't it? We've gone from this pattern to really, really similar. All the notes are in the same order. One goes to the next in exactly the same way as it would. It's just that one comes first in the bar, and that's different to how it was. Anyway, our new section comes up after this. Here it comes with the lower bass. Oh, is it the next time? Yes, I suppose it's the next time. Very high stuff now, going all the way up to that top F. Still arguably not that high for a piano. And there it is. So we actually add not just this octave on, but that low octave as well. I think there's a double bass on the track played by Pike on drums and Milo Fitzpatrick on double bass, who's on quite a lot of this record. So suddenly having that that low stuff is a big boost to the signal. It's still very quiet though, isn't it? It's not really showing at all. Sorry. And it gives us a whole lot more weight to those lower notes. It feels like its own voice now in a very really strong way. And it sort of becomes hard to decide where the loop begins. It doesn't feel like any chords have a particularly strong home feel to them in this section. Let's go a little earlier again and let's hear that. So here comes the B flat. There it is. Yeah, so we had this slow walk down, basically one per bar of B flat, going to G, going to D, F, so going to D, going to C, and then we had this kind of pattern from the C, C2, B flat, G2, 3. It's done that a few times. Does that make the G feel like our home? I don't think so, really. I think the G still feels unfinished. The C feels unfinished. So all of this feels like an uncomfortable waiting area where things keep going round and round and round. Interesting how we got there just by slowly descending, well, through the pentatonic scale, actually. Through a G minor pentatonic, as it turns out. So maybe it is sort of guiding us towards G minor as our home base, but what we would expect for that is an E flat, or maybe a weird sounding E, but I haven't noticed a weird sounding E. C, B, C for longer, B flat, E, G, so C's for twice as long as I thought. Okay, and then a slightly more complicated thing going on in the middle here. I think it's probably something like that. There's a chance it's 2 pianos layered. I certainly can't play that fast enough, but the basic concept is we've got a similar pattern, but with 2 notes, definitely at the top, maybe also in the middle. It really feels like two layered. I don't know how you would play that, but we've got this kind of yeah. What is it? Is it both of those? Maybe going at the same time as something like that or that or that, but it's layered in a complicated manner. Maybe it is played at the same time. If so, very, very skillfully. Just very, very neat and clear interplay there. Okay, just for that little moment, doo, in comes our synth note. Or actually, I think that's not the synth note, because the synth note was G, wasn't it? Oh, okay. So did we lose? Maybe I will go back. Did we lose the A in that section that we had all those G's? It's here now, and I know as we get here, it's still here. Ooh, it's still there. No, it's still there. So routing us to that A the whole time here. Even here. And then going down to that B flat. And this really feels like going back into a section to some degree. We'll see if it feels if it is actually a repetition of something. Also, we've added the snare in here, so that drums have built from just kick and a hi-hat for a long time now. Now we've got the snare giving us, I think, the 3rd beat of every 3. Yeah. Yeah, this is a pattern we've heard before. Something like that. Okay, I don't know that we exactly had that bass movement there, but we have heard this before. The B flat going to the C major, or the G minor going to the C major, if you like. And then we have that movement down on the D minor going to that B, and then more towards a G minor again there, G minor 9. Yeah, so lots of shifting relationships, but very, very close, subtle changes between these chords. Yeah, that bass movement down as well. So we go from G minor very clearly here to a more ambiguous thing on that F, and then to more of a clear, well, yeah, that complicated B flat one we've been talking about. Lovely. We've also got an extra kick drum. I don't know if we had this before, and I'm not going to check, but dum dum da dum dum da. So it's a little earlier than the second beat there, which is a nice little 3/4 groove. Fill. Oh, I can't tell if that's piano or not. It sounds very watery and soft. Simple enough melody. Not giving us any notes we aren't already aware of, but yeah, is it fitting with our chords? Not really. It's more of a motivic pedal. So that's happening there while we're changing from these ones. I think anyway. Let's see if it changes. Yeah, just the freedom of the drums is really nice as well. When these, I mention this quite a lot, but when things are locked in doing their pretty patterns that are so meticulously crafted, it's really nice to have drums be that free and willing to just put some extra fills in and extra crashes and other things. It makes it so dynamic. Yeah, so that melody almost playing exactly the same on every single one. When we get down to our fourth chord, the G minor, it just does the same thing twice instead of doing the whole thing, and that's when we have that little bit of quicker movement down to the F and up to the B flat. So maybe to make that a simpler change, I don't know. Either way, drums are going crazy. Yeah, so the drums are now giving us both the 1, 2, 3 and the 1, 2, 3, 4. If you get the idea, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're getting both of those at the same time in the drums. So the drums are really feeling a lot more crazy and a lot more exciting than they were before, when they were very, very regimented and straightforward on that longer beat. Yeah, really in the hi-hat emphasis is where you get that, and in the early kick drum. Okay, we've got some voices in here. Voices were absolutely not on the previous Hanakiv album, so this is a real step in a different direction. But these are not our average voices, are they? Where are they? This kind of range. Again, not giving us any strange notes, any unexpected things. And the main thing that's strange about them is that they are just this background thing with a bit of a sidechain compression feel to them. They're coming whoa, 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 coming in the background in bursts and then fading out again and fading back in. It's really yeah, club feel, really, isn't it? That it feels a little interesting, that C, because there's a little slide up to it. So we get a bit of the B, which has been a little elusive in this, but it does occur, doesn't it? Also, interestingly here, we haven't got our ostinato going on. It's more just long, really high notes in the piano, longer high notes. Yeah, all the way up at this kind of whole octave higher than they were before. Also, notable that quite a lot of these notes don't feel impeded. It's just a few of them that really sound different here, and that's been true of this main section, I think. Yeah, what we do also have in the piano though is these lower chords, something like that. I don't know if it's all tenths like that. I would not like to play that. Yeah, it's not quite, so we get that there, but we got that before, I think, then that, then that. So it's almost like there's two two moving lines in the bass there. Sometimes moving together and sometimes not. Ooh, that's a stretch, low G and a C, so that's an 11th. Don't know if that's played with one hand, maybe it is. Impressive. So in a lot of these repetitions that we've been having lately, that we haven't been getting that B. That B really only exists when the piano is doing that particular thing, and that hasn't been happening for a while now. So we've been occupying a more clear D minor-y space, I suppose. Although, have we been spending a lot of time on D? No, we've been spending a lot of time on the G, haven't we? Oh, yes. Yes, we have. Yeah, it's slightly different. Here's our B flat and our C. But there's our D. And there's our G minor. So we are still getting it. We are still getting it. Oh, okay. Maybe I just heard a ghost G that time there. Interesting. Don't know. Either way, yeah, I would say D minor is kind of what's going on here, but we've got a lot of different strong, long resonant spaces. The B flat being a strong one, the C, and the C kind of has a 6 to it as well, like the B flat. So maybe it's more of an A minor-y kind of thing. Interesting how we started in A minor, but we've had the majority of this in this kind of D area, haven't we? Okay, losing a certain amount of the backing. In fact, there doesn't seem to be any drums anymore. Very little of the vocals coming through, and we've gone to a very different pattern with the piano of just these kind of rocking back and forth pairs. Or at least that's the impression it gets. They're slightly more complicated, but we're getting this kind of thing happening. Yeah, not always in time with each other. Well, always in time with each other, but not always in parallel with each other in that time. Yeah, so really that higher melody is something like... So there's a lot of this repetition between two notes, but then it steps away in either direction, while the other one is doing a lot of that down there, okay? And we're still getting that bass movement, probably mainly from the double bass, but there's something happening down there on the piano too, as well as these patterns up here happening. So it's quite a complicated set. Maybe it's two different pianos layered on top of each other. Maybe it's just a very well planned thing. Got our drums back in, but they feel much more spacey now, don't they? Those cymbals really are reverberating endlessly there. The hi-hat's still very quiet though. Is that a double time? No, it's not. It's just a slightly more deliberate rhythm, maybe? I don't know, it sounds fun. What is different is we've got a kick drum on each... I guess we did have that before, didn't we? Did we? Let's just jump back again. Yeah, kick drum on each beat. Maybe we lost that when we got the snare in, and that made everything feel a little bit more comfortable. But here we're back to that pulsing beat. Yeah, lots more cymbals overall. We've got the hi-hat and we've got the ride cymbal being used. Oh, we did. And now the only percussion we can hear really is the piano with those clicks of the keys. Are those prepared, or is that just the sound of the piano? Or is that the sound of something else? Because that sounds like it might be emerging from a new space over in the right. This kind of thing. Yeah. So that's like that ostinato we had before, which was doing something like that. It's like we've cut that in yeah. We've cut it in some kind of way. Let's hear it again. Yeah, no. Yeah, I can't do trills like that, but that's what's going on. Yeah, fun. So yeah, still very polyphonic, but that is the closest we get to a true melody when we've got these simple lines up at the top. They don't give us much of a melodic feel, especially because they're so rhythmically joined to the other parts. So it feels more like these undulating waves, but that one in particular feels a little more playerly, with that that little ornamentation as well. Not a trill, but a little ornamentation, sort of like an inverse turn, I guess, but then we don't end on the right note. So mordant, I don't know. And we've lost all of the rest of the ensemble. We've got that one A still coming through, Old Faithful. We've got the double bass is still there, and that actually might be where the pluck sounds were coming from, because the double bass seems to be right over in the right headphone, dum dum dum, giving us those low notes. And then it's really just our low hand now with that repeated ghostly A. So we've come back down quite considerably from our emotional peak, our textural peak here, much softer. In waves, almost like an ambient piece, really. We haven't had a sudden entry of most things. We had one sudden synth noise, didn't we? But broadly, things have been filtering in slowly and filtering out slowly with fades. So it feels quite ambient. Yeah, interesting. The double bass, I think, is playing in line with the piano, and they've got this particular melody line themselves in that low range, playing in octaves. That's a really eerie effect. Let's hear it one more time. Yeah, that's fun. Da-da. Like that. I think we end on a low G. Oh no, low. Yeah, so our last kind of chord, we get a D here, low F all the way down there, and this A just pulsating through, which is a D minor chord, but it's not our fundamentally resolved D minor chord we might hope for. It's a first inversion chord with the F in the bass, and so it feels a little absent, a little bit like it's not really meant to be perceived. It's meant to just be moving on, look somewhere else. But this is holding it for the last several seconds, 10 seconds basically, of this piece. Although, yeah, it has gone by now. That's nice. So, you know, there are a lot of composers who make a living from this kind of, and I say this kind of, meditative piano or minimalism. But what I think is that Hanakiv has a handle on something that is quite special in comparison to, say, Niels Frahm. And I know loads of people love Niels Frahm, but I find Niels Fram's music sort of emotionally vapid. I don't think there's a lot going on in Niels Fram's music emotionally, whereas I think in this, whether it be through the swells that are happening very regularly, just getting louder between different keys, or the way that the reverb is used on some things and not others, or the use of the drums is quite unusual as well. There's just something in Hanakiv's music that I find that bit more elevated than other people that I've come across doing similar piano-led minimalist music. But interesting, the structure here, right? Because we had this intro section which was based around a different set of chords, really. When we came in, we were here, and we had that with, and then we had that, but we didn't ever come back to that. We got into our D minor kind of place, and we stayed there for the whole time. So it was really an A part to begin with, and then just this long elaboration on the B part for the rest of the song, which I think is quite interesting. It is that from a melodic and harmonic perspective, but obviously texturally there's a lot more going on in that B section, a lot more things coming in and out. So what shall we do for our idiotic bingo? Well, it's not a long song, so we could get rid of that. We didn't have baritone sax, which is very sad, but we did have upright bass. So let's get rid of baritone sax and let's put in there ostinato. Hopefully I've not got that anywhere else. We do like ostinatos, even if they are often very boring. But here I think they work pretty well. There's not a vast amount of other things we need to say, but why not say let's just put in prepared piano. It's not going to happen very often, but I don't know what keys not matching was for. I can't remember that at all. Is that bitonal, maybe? That's the best way to describe that. But yeah, we're putting in prepared piano. And why not, let's also make a note of that fake club feel. Let's just put that as its own category. Fake club feel is really nice, actually, really. What should we put it in? Instrumental and vocal unison. That's boring. No one likes that. We do, however, like fake club feel. Yeah. Not going to happen again. But it's worth noting that it is a thing that this has. That is good. Fake club feel. And there we go. So it's not very long, 4 minutes 30. It is, however, the longest song on the album. Yeah, classical, my arse. This is not classical music. False relations, not at the same time. And not in this one. There are a couple of songs on the album which do kind of have that going on. We did have upright bass, we did have an ostinato. Oh wow, and I've really made that line. But it's not sonata form. We did have a modal interchange. Unexpected section addition, no, not really. Apart from, I guess, that moment of G major that was never heard from again. Nope, we're not going to have it. Harmonic pattern, yes, definitely. Unusual chord sequence, I wouldn't say so. No, we're operating within a diatonic center, so it doesn't feel very odd, even if the movement between them is a little bit unusual. Multi-octave cohesion, we did have some of that, especially towards the end. Prepared piano, yeah, we definitely had that. OTT stepwise. No, I don't think so. I don't think it was OTT stepwise. It's definitely a bit stepwise, but not OTT. Approximate pitch, no. Rhythmic displacement, yes, we did, because we went from the low note being first to the top note being first. So that's interesting. Slow build in texture, sure enough, that is true. Wow, we got a line. Yeah, there it is. Linear, yeah, pretty much linear. We did have some recurring section to some degree, but yeah, I mean, you know, if we looked at that B section a bit more closely, we would probably see that there were recurring things in there, and they were not therefore linear, but it's broadly linear. It has this A section and then it has this B section. That's pretty lame analysis, but that's what we're sticking with. Held dissonance. Held is a little bit of a difficult one, but I think, yeah, because we've got that A going through all these chords, including that B flat chord, I think we can give it that. Improvised feel, only on the drums, and even there, not very much, but I'm willing to put it out there. Marrying two sections, no, we didn't have that as far as I could tell. Contrary motion, yes, we did have a certain amount of contrary motion, not very much, but we did. Instrumental, yeah, it was all instrumental apart from those singing bits. It's true of every track. Gigantic reverb, I would say we did have a gigantic reverb. Wow, this is a good selection we're getting here. Other world's chord change, no. Polyphony, it's hard to argue that this is polyphonic. It's a little bit of a difficult one because this is really doing a lot with ostinatos, and so if you have two different ostinatos at the same time, if you have that kind of thing, is that polyphonic? I would say yes. I would say that's polyphonic. That said, when they are basically spelling out an arpeggio, that's much less of a melody line, isn't it? So it's a difficult one, but I think we have to give it the polyphony one because of that comes in later and just adds on to the top. So there we go. We got another line. Oh my goodness. A dual line one. Wow, this is going to be a high score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, plus 10, 26. That's more than is actually on the board. So well done, Hanakiv. You have absolutely knocked it out of the park in terms of things I like in music. Nice one. Okay, well that was Lõpulaul by Hanakiv, and wasn't it a piece? That was pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah, pretty straightforward in some respects compared to some of the others on the album. I would really suggest you go and listen to Numb. I didn't do Numb today, and I sort of wanted to. I thought if I went through Lõpulaul quickly, then I could do Numb afterwards, but sad to say, not the case. Go and listen to it. Go and listen to the whole album, Interlude. I think she's really got some interesting, unique feel, and it's hard to express exactly what's going on there, but you saw by the bingo that there's loads of things going on in that music that is cool. Good stuff. Yeah, have a good day. See you soon. It's Friday, but it will not be that forever. So if this is a bad Friday, let it be. Go on to Saturday. Bye bye.